The content in this video is based on factual, real-life events and public records. All opinions expressed are for educational and documentary purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised, as some scenes may depict sensitive content. This video is intended for informative purposes and complies with YouTube's guidelines. Inmates call it the no-hope block for a reason. Here, violence isn't an exception, it's the rule. In California's Corcoran State Prison and Florida's Santa Rosa Correctional Institution, only the most dangerous prisoners are locked away. Guards suit up in riot gear for every movement, every door a potential flashpoint. From the crack of dawn head counts to nighttime lockdowns, tension pulses through every corridor. One wrong look, one misstep, and survival depends on instinct, timing, and sheer luck. Today, we step inside to witness a day where fear is constant, violence is routine, and hope is a distant memory. If you enjoy real, gripping prison documentaries and true stories, don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, and share it with your friends and family. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss more shocking and exclusive content. Dawn of violence, morning head counts, and tension. The day begins before sunrise. In the no-hope block, silence is rare, but the first stirrings of inmates moving in their cells mark the start of a tense ritual. Inmates with gangster tattoos line the narrow corridors, pacing or crouching near the bars, eyes scanning every movement. Each morning starts with a head count, a procedure that is both routine and dangerous. Guards march down the rows of cells, clipboards in hand, radios crackling. Riot gear is mandatory, not optional. Helmets, shields, and batons glint in the dim lights, a visible warning. One misstep could spark chaos. The head count is more than a tally. For the inmates, it is a psychological battle. Every glance from a guard can be interpreted as a challenge, and every delay in response can lead to confrontation. Inmates who fail to answer correctly, even by accident, risk immediate punishment. In some cases, fights break out in the cell itself. A punch through the bars, a thrown object, or a sudden surge of bodies as rival gang members clash. Correctional officers must remain vigilant. Many have stories of being injured during counts, sometimes by weapons improvised from toothbrushes, razor blades, or metal fragments hidden in the cell. By the time the second count occurs mid-morning, the block is already tense. Meals are a risk. The narrow hallways funnel inmates into a space where violence can erupt at any moment. Guards escort the inmates in single file, helmets close to their chests, batons ready. Some inmates spit threats. Others silently plan their next strike. The no-hope block houses men who have proven too violent or unpredictable for general population. Many have multiple life sentences or histories of assaults on staff and fellow prisoners. Gang affiliations run deep, visible in tattoos covering arms, necks, and hands. These markings are not just identifiers. They are warnings, symbols of territory and status, and sometimes a declaration of lethal intent. The first violent incident often happens during breakfast. Food trays slide across the hallways under watchful eyes, but hunger and opportunity combine dangerously here. A fight can start over the smallest provocation. Someone taking another inmate's tray, a disrespectful gesture, or even a glance perceived as hostile. Correctional officers intervene quickly, but the goal is not always to stop the fight immediately. In some situations, containment and observation are safer, preventing further escalation or endangering officers. Riot shields block swinging fists and improvised weapons, while other guards call for backup on radios. Inmates who have survived here for years have learned to strike fast and disappear back into their cells before intervention. Security measures extend beyond physical presence. Cameras monitor every corner of the block, recording violence, threats, and movements for future evidence. But cameras cannot prevent tension, paranoia, or the psychological toll of constant vigilance. Inmates know that one mistake could result in solitary confinement, extended lockdown, or worse, retaliation from another gang. Officers walk a fine line, attempting to maintain order without provoking further aggression. Their presence alone is a deterrent, but it does not remove the ever-present danger. By mid-morning, routines are established. Inmates are allowed limited time out of their cells to shower, make calls, or receive visits. Each movement is controlled and supervised. Guards count heads multiple times and inspect cells for weapons or contraband. Improvised knives, shanks, and homemade blunt instruments are common. Inmates with violent histories and gang affiliations are adept at hiding these weapons, making inspections a tense affair. Even with extensive training, officers risk injury daily. Mental strain weighs heavily on everyone inside. Inmates live in a world of hyper-awareness, where a sound from a neighboring cell or a misaligned shuffle in the hallway can trigger fear or aggression. Psychological studies of no-hope blocks in California and Florida indicate that long-term exposure to constant violence elevates stress hormones, increases paranoia, and often reduces impulse control. It is not just physical survival that defines a day here, it is mental endurance. Officers experience similar strain, with the knowledge that one split-second lapse can lead to injury or death. By late morning, tension begins to peak. Rival gang members are sometimes forced into proximity, either during controlled recreation or as a consequence of overcrowding. Conversations, gestures, and even body language are interpreted as threats. A simple argument can escalate into a full-scale brawl, requiring multiple officers to intervene. Inmates with gangster tattoos are both more visible and more dangerous. These tattoos signify rank and affiliation, making them instant targets or instigators, depending on the situation. Even as the clock ticks toward noon, the no-hope block is rarely quiet. Guards conduct intermittent cell checks, ensuring that nothing is hidden and no altercations are left unchecked. Inmates pace the narrow hallways, flexing their influence and power, maintaining hierarchies and dominance. The block is a self-contained ecosystem of violence, survival, and strategy. No inmate walks casually. Every step is calculated, every glance deliberate. The morning ends with yet another head count before the noon meal. Officers and inmates alike understand the stakes. Control is fragile, violence is inevitable, and survival requires constant awareness. By the time lunch arrives, everyone inside the no-hope block has already endured hours of psychological pressure, minor confrontations, and the ever-present threat of assault. For many inmates, the morning alone defines whether they will survive the day or fall victim to the unrelenting environment. Every hour in the no-hope block is a test of willpower. Guards enforce rules with precision, but they cannot control instinct, anger, or fear. Inmates have learned to use every opportunity to gain an advantage, whether through intimidation, quick strikes, or alliances with other prisoners. The first day in this environment is overwhelming. Years inside reshape perception, trust, and survival strategies. Violence is not occasional, it is constant. Routine is a concept that exists only in schedules and head counts. Survival depends on reading the room, anticipating threats, and, sometimes, sheer luck. Controlled chaos, midday fights, recreation, and power struggles. By midday, the no-hope block is a pressure cooker. Hours of psychological tension, combined with enforced proximity, create a volatile mix. Inmates with gangster tattoos patrol their own territories within the block, eyes sharp, muscles tensed, watching for rivals and assessing threats. Guards maintain a visible presence, but the flow of violence is constant. Inmates are experts in the art of opportunistic aggression. A small insult or accidental brush against another prisoner can spark an immediate fight. Recreation periods are some of the most dangerous times of the day. Inmates are given limited access to the yard, usually under strict supervision. These outdoor areas are not free zones. They're controlled environments where hierarchy, gang affiliation, and intimidation determine behavior. Rival groups are sometimes forced into shared spaces, creating potential flashpoints. Guards position themselves strategically, ready to break up any altercation, but they rarely touch every potential conflict. Inmates move with calculated aggression, trading threats, posturing, or initiating small confrontations to assert dominance. Fights are frequent, often brutal. Inmates use fists, improvised weapons, and even furniture to gain the upper hand. Guards with riot gear form a protective barrier, attempting to de-escalate without getting drawn into harm. In many cases, officers must physically restrain multiple inmates at once, using control techniques trained for maximum efficiency and minimum injury. Even with this, injuries are common. Broken bones, cuts, and concussions are part of daily life here. Survival is dictated not only by physical strength, but also by strategy, situational awareness, and sometimes sheer luck. While fights erupt, other inmates manipulate the environment in subtle ways. Alliances form quickly, often temporary, to target specific rivals or to protect someone from retaliation. Tattoos, symbols of gang affiliation, are used as nonverbal communication. A flash of ink can signal threat, alliance, or status. These markings are more than decoration. They are constant reminders of identity and allegiance. Inmates who fail to respect these social codes often pay a heavy price. Meals in the midday period are another potential flashpoint. The distribution of trays follows a precise routine, yet conflicts still erupt. An accidental spill, a dropped tray, or a delayed serving can escalate into a confrontation. Guards supervise every step, but the chaos is unavoidable. Inmates with a history of violence or multiple sentences often act first and calculate later. Others are opportunistic, observing carefully and striking when guards are distracted or when another inmate is weakened by hunger or fatigue. Power struggles define midday life. Inmates jockey for position, influence, and dominance. Even within gang affiliations, competition is fierce. Tattoos, scars, and reputation dictate who has authority, and these hierarchies are constantly tested. Minor disputes can escalate into targeted attacks, where inmates attempt to undermine a rival's authority or demonstrate their own toughness. Guards witness these dynamics constantly, aware that intervention is often a delicate balance. Acting too aggressively can inflame the situation. Acting too passively can allow violence to spiral. Isolation within the block is minimal. Cells are often shared, sometimes with rivals forced together due to overcrowding. Privacy is virtually non-existent, and tension rises from constant surveillance, both by guards and fellow inmates. Inmates learn quickly that silence does not guarantee safety. Even casual conversation is monitored. Misinterpreted words can lead to violence. The no-hope block is a world where the ordinary rules of communication are replaced by vigilance, strategy, and instinctive self-preservation. Contraband remains a serious concern. Officers conduct intermittent searches, but inmates are skilled at hiding weapons, drugs, and other prohibited items. Even a small piece of metal can become a lethal weapon, and many fights escalate because of these hidden threats. Tattoos are often combined with skill, signaling who is likely armed, who is aggressive, or who has allies nearby. Guards learn these signs over time, but the risk is ever present. Mental endurance is tested alongside physical survival. Inmates face not only the immediate threat of violence, but also the psychological weight of constant danger. Stress levels remain high as fear and hyper-awareness dominate every interaction. Psychologists who study high-security prison environments note that chronic exposure to violence elevates cortisol levels, triggers paranoia, and can erode decision-making ability. For officers, the constant vigilance required is equally taxing. Many describe exhaustion after long shifts, knowing that even a single lapse in attention could have catastrophic consequences. Midday also includes periods of minimal activity, when inmates are confined to their cells for brief rest or administrative processing. Even in these quiet moments, tension does not dissipate. Inmates watch their neighbors, assess who is powerful or weak, and anticipate potential threats. Guards conduct cell inspections, ensuring no weapons or contraband are present. Every interaction, no matter how brief, can escalate. The block functions as a self-contained ecosystem where violence, strategy, and control define survival. By the end of midday, The no-hope block has already claimed its toll. Officers and inmates alike are mentally and physically strained. Injuries are treated quickly, but psychological scars linger. The environment does not forgive mistakes or weaknesses. Inmates with gangster tattoos, long sentences, or histories of extreme violence dominate this ecosystem, using status, alliances, and intimidation to maintain control. The block is both a battlefield and a laboratory for human behavior under extreme conditions. The midday hours demonstrate the delicate balance of control. Officers attempt to enforce rules and maintain order, but complete control is impossible. Violence is not an exception, it is routine. Survival depends on constant observation, anticipation of threats, and understanding the unspoken rules of inmate behavior. Those who fail to adapt often become victims, while those who understand the system, maintain alliances, and demonstrate toughness endure. For inmates and officers alike, Midday is a reminder that the no-hope block is not just a prison. It is a daily test of survival, strategy, and psychological endurance. Every movement, every glance, every decision carries consequences. Here, chaos is controlled only by strict routines, careful observation, and the ever-present risk of violence. Afternoon violence, manipulation, survival, and hidden threats. Afternoon in the no-hope block is a test of endurance. The morning's tension has settled into a low hum of vigilance, but danger never disappears. Inmates with gangster tattoos continue to patrol the corridors, aware that even minor errors can escalate into life-threatening situations. Every glance, every gesture, every word is scrutinized. Survival is as much about perception as it is about strength. Afternoon brings administrative tasks and controlled movements that carry their own risks. Inmates are escorted to the medical unit, visitation rooms, or education programs if permitted. These movements are tightly controlled, with officers in riot gear flanking each step. Even when appearing calm, the inmates' minds are calculating. They observe guard behavior, assess fellow prisoners, and anticipate potential attacks. One wrong step, miscounting, tripping, or losing balance can trigger aggression from another inmate or even a sudden flash of violence in response to perceived disrespect. Cell interactions during this period are crucial. Many fights do not happen in the open. They are orchestrated behind doors. Inmates share cells with rivals or allies, and they exploit every opportunity to assert dominance. Tattoos serve as signals. A hand tattoo might indicate gang rank, a neck tattoo a history of violence, an arm tattoo a warning. Inmates understand these cues instinctively. Minor slights, perceived disrespect, or a misplaced object can trigger attacks. Guards frequently witness the aftermath: bruises, cuts, and improvised weapon confiscations, evidence of conflicts that were too quick to prevent. Contraband and improvised weapons are a constant threat. Officers conduct intermittent inspections, but inmates are highly skilled at hiding shivs, broken metal, or other makeshift weapons. Even the simplest object, a pencil, a toothbrush, a piece of metal, can become a lethal instrument. Afternoon inspections are tense, as officers must balance thoroughness with safety. Inmates watch carefully, using distractions or misdirection to conceal items. A successful concealment is both a display of cunning and a potential threat to anyone nearby. Power dynamics shift constantly during these hours. Inmates form temporary alliances to counter rival gangs, manipulate weaker inmates, or assert authority. These alliances are fragile, often dissolving after a single conflict. Officers must be aware of these shifting allegiances. Failing to recognize them can result in injuries or full-scale fights. The no-hope block operates under unspoken rules. Respect, fear, and influence dictate every interaction. Inmates who misjudge these rules often face immediate consequences. During the afternoon, small conflicts can escalate rapidly. A whispered insult, a theft, or even an accidental bump in the corridor can trigger a violent confrontation. Guards react with a combination of restraint and force. In some cases, they intervene immediately. In others, they contain the situation until backup arrives. The goal is not always to stop violence instantly, but to prevent it from spreading and creating additional casualties. For inmates, these moments are opportunities to demonstrate strength, protect allies, or eliminate threats. Isolation within cells offers no true safety. Many inmates spend afternoons confined, but even in the relative quiet, stress and vigilance are constant. Psychological studies show that chronic exposure to such environments increases hypervigilance, aggression, and paranoia. Inmates anticipate attacks from neighbors, plan defensive strategies, and maintain awareness of the guards' positions. Even a momentary lapse in attention can be costly. Officers also face this strain, monitoring dozens of potentially lethal individuals while remaining calm, authoritative, and alert. Afternoons are also when intelligence is gathered. Inmates observe patterns in guard behavior, noting who is distracted, who responds quickly, and who might be leveraged during a conflict. They also monitor rival gangs, recording tendencies, weaknesses, and potential opportunities for retaliation. Information in this environment is power. A well-timed warning, a hidden weapon, or a whispered threat can shift the balance of control. Officers recognize this dynamic, but cannot eliminate it entirely. Recreation and limited yard access continue into the afternoon. These controlled spaces are arenas of tension. Inmates with tattoos signaling rank, history, or affiliation are constantly aware of rival presence. Fights are often premeditated. A sudden shove, a swinging fist, or a dropped object can initiate violence. Officers rely on strategic positioning, anticipating attacks before they occur. Despite precautions, injuries are inevitable. The no-hope block is a place where only those constantly alert can avoid becoming victims. Food distribution and administrative procedures also carry risk. Inmates move under strict supervision, but subtle provocations or accidental contact can lead to rapid escalation. Officers must act decisively while minimizing escalation. The block's rules are brutal but clear. Weakness is exploited, strength is respected, and misjudgment can be fatal. Inmates learn these lessons quickly, often through experience or observation. Tattoos, history, and behavior combine to create a social map that governs interactions. By mid-afternoon, fatigue begins to set in, but it does not reduce danger. Inmates adjust their strategies, resting briefly while maintaining vigilance. Some choose to assert dominance during these quieter moments, reminding rivals and officers alike of their influence. Others manipulate situations from a distance, using conversation, gestures, or alliances to achieve objectives without direct confrontation. Every decision carries risk, every action has consequence, and every moment is a test of survival. The day inside the no-hope block is an ongoing lesson in controlled violence, strategic thinking, and psychological endurance. Officers and inmates alike navigate a landscape where authority, intimidation, and quick decision-making determine outcomes. Tattoos, reputation, and history inform every interaction, guiding behavior and influencing reactions. Violence is routine, not exceptional. Tension is constant, not intermittent. By afternoon, the cumulative stress, fatigue, and constant threat of assault weigh heavily on everyone. For inmates with gangster tattoos, survival is both instinct and strategy. Every movement is deliberate, every interaction calculated, and every opportunity for advantage seized. For officers, survival is vigilance, awareness, and disciplined response. The no-hope block is a world where every hour carries risk, every corner hides potential danger, and every day is a test of both physical and mental endurance. As the afternoon fades, both inmates and officers prepare for the next phase, evening lockdowns, another high-risk period where violence, tension, and psychological strain reach new heights. The lessons of morning and midday are clear. Control is fragile. Chaos is constant, and only the vigilant endure. Evening lockdowns, heightened tension, and nighttime survival. As the day progresses toward evening, tension in the no-hope block reaches its peak. The controlled chaos of morning and afternoon gives way to a different kind of pressure, lockdown. Doors clang shut, gates seal, and the dim fluorescent lights cast long shadows down the narrow hallways. Inmates with gangster tattoos settle into their cells, but safety is never guaranteed. The block transforms into a waiting arena, where each sound, a footstep, a cough, a metal clang, could signal danger. Lockdown begins with final head counts. Officers, fully armored in riot gear, move systematically through the block, ensuring that each inmate is present and compliant. Silence is enforced, but it is uneasy. Inmates respond with measured movements, careful not to provoke attention. Those with histories of violence, multiple life sentences, or gang affiliations remain alert, scanning hallways and cell doors. One misstep during this process can ignite a violent reaction. Cells are small, shared spaces. Inmates often find themselves confined with rivals or temporary cellmates assigned due to overcrowding. Tattoos, scars, and reputation dictate behavior within these tight quarters. Status, influence, and fear are constantly at play. An accidental bump against a cellmate, a misplaced object, or a glance in the wrong direction can trigger immediate conflict. Guards are aware, monitoring remotely and periodically entering cells when necessary, but they cannot prevent every confrontation. Survival depends on instinct, awareness, and timing. Nighttime brings limited activity, but it also increases psychological strain. Darkness and isolation magnify paranoia. Inmates are hyper-aware of every sound and movement, interpreting even minor disturbances as threats. Officers enforce lockdown rules strictly, but the risk of violence does not diminish. Weapons hidden during the day may resurface, and disputes left unresolved can escalate. Tattoos, in this environment, continue to communicate hierarchy and potential danger, signaling who is likely to instigate conflict or who may be vulnerable. Evenings often see increased manipulation and strategic positioning. Inmates use quiet periods to assert influence, gather intelligence, and reinforce alliances. Subtle gestures, whispered words, and tactical placement within the cell or block convey power and intention. Officers monitor these dynamics carefully. They understand that control is not only about physical presence, but also about anticipating inmate behavior and intervening before violence escalates. Night meals and commissary distribution occur under strict supervision. The process is methodical, trays delivered, counts verified, and movements controlled. Even with strict routines, incidents happen. Arguments over portions, disputes about placement, or rivalries flaring can lead to fights. Guards intervene selectively, balancing immediate safety with the need to prevent further escalation. Inmates who survive here for years develop instincts to anticipate conflict and navigate these dangerous moments with precision. Lockdown also exposes psychological stress in inmates. The constant threat of violence, isolation from the outside world, and limited space contribute to heightened aggression and paranoia. Mental health issues are prevalent, with depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress symptoms common among long-term prisoners. Officers face similar challenges: sustained vigilance, exposure to violence, and a responsibility of protecting themselves and others create extreme stress. Both sides endure an environment that tests mental resilience as much as physical endurance. During evening lockdowns, fights often erupt silently. A hand through bars, a shove, or a whispered insult can escalate rapidly. Officers rely on surveillance, experience, and tactical intervention to contain incidents. Even minor confrontations can result in injuries, weapon confiscation, and disciplinary measures. Inmates with gangster tattoos are both more likely to instigate violence and more likely to be targeted. Tattoos serve as markers of status, history, and capability, guiding both aggressors and defenders in split-second decisions. Some inmates use lockdown to prepare for future confrontations. Plans for retaliation, alliances, and strategic moves are discussed quietly or observe from a distance. Knowledge and intelligence are currency in the no-hope block. Understanding rivals, predicting guard behavior, and exploiting weaknesses are essential for survival. Officers understand that effective control requires awareness of these dynamics, but eliminating the risk entirely is impossible. As night deepens, the block becomes quieter, but tension remains high. Each sound is analyzed, each movement observed. Inmates with long sentences, violent histories, or gang affiliations remain alert, anticipating potential attacks. Guards continue to monitor and conduct periodic checks, maintaining order without provoking further aggression. Fatigue sets in, but vigilance cannot waver. Mistakes at night can be fatal. By late evening, the cumulative toll of the day is evident. Injuries, exhaustion, and psychological strain affect both inmates and officers. The environment has been harsh, violent, and relentless. Tattoos, alliances, and hierarchy continue to define interactions. The block operates on a constant cycle of observation, calculation, and strategic action. Violence is routine, chaos is expected, and survival requires skill, patience, and awareness. Nighttime in the no-hope block is not simply an end to daily activities. It is a separate battlefield. Inmates continue to assert control, monitor threats, and strategize for the next day. Officers remain vigilant, aware that fatigue and reduced visibility increase risk. The block is a place where experience, awareness, and quick decision-making determine outcomes. Those who fail to adapt, misread cues, or miscalculate alliances face immediate consequences. In the no-hope block, evening lockdowns demonstrate the delicate balance of control. Officers enforce order, but they do not dominate. Inmates navigate a complex social and psychological landscape, where influence, intimidation, and strategy dictate daily survival. Tattoos, history, and behavior guide decisions and predict outcomes. Violence is not occasional. It is an expected part of life. Mental endurance is as important as physical strength. Survival depends on constant observation, anticipation, and awareness. As the block settles into the night, the lessons of the day resonate clearly. Every moment carries risk, every interaction has consequence, and every inmate must navigate a complex network of power, fear, and aggression. Evening lockdowns are a reminder that the no-hope block is not merely a prison. It is a daily crucible of survival, resilience, and controlled chaos. Night into dawn, survival, reflection, and the end a no-hope day. The night stretches long in the no-hope block, but sleep is rare. Inmates with gangster tattoos lie on narrow bunks, eyes scanning the shadows, muscles tensed for any sudden threat. The block is quiet only on the surface. Each sound, a distant cough, the scrape of a chair, or a clanging door, is magnified. Inmates and guards alike remain alert. Survival here is not just physical. It is mental, emotional, and instinctive. Late-night periods are among the most psychologically taxing. Inmates reflect on the day, strategize for the next, and assess their position within the block's social hierarchy. Gang affiliations, tattoos, reputation, and past actions continue to dictate influence. Alliances formed or broken during the day are analyzed. Minor conflicts are remembered, grudges are recorded, and plans for retaliation are quietly conceived. Every inmate understands that one miscalculation can be deadly. Guards conduct periodic checks throughout the night. Their presence is constant but subtle. In some areas, surveillance cameras provide continuous monitoring, but officers know that technology cannot replace vigilance. Even experienced guards can be caught off guard by sudden violence. The quiet of night is deceptive. It is often when conflicts ignite from the smallest provocation. A whispered insult, a sudden movement, or a misinterpreted gesture can escalate rapidly. Inmates with violent histories often use these hours to practice self-control and patience. Long sentences, previous assaults, and gang hierarchies have taught them that restraint can be more powerful than aggression. Yet restraint is always fragile. Tattoos are more than symbols. They serve as warnings, reminders of capability, and markers of status. A glance at the wrong tattoo can provoke fear or aggression. Inmates are constantly decoding these signals, anticipating threats, and deciding whether to act immediately or wait for a safer moment. Night meals, if scheduled, are handled with precision. Food trays are delivered with multiple checks to ensure order. Inmates remain vigilant, anticipating potential conflicts. Officers guide movements carefully, minimizing the risk of escalation. Despite strict routines, fights sometimes occur, fueled by hunger, grudges, or provocation. Injuries, both minor and severe, are treated efficiently, but the psychological toll remains. The no-hope block is a place where pain is routine and endurance is essential. Sleep, when it occurs, is light and fragmented. Inmates often remain partially alert, aware that danger can arrive without warning. Even those accustomed to long-term incarceration describe these nights as mentally exhausting. Officers experience similar fatigue. Long shifts, constant vigilance, and exposure to aggression create a high-stress environment. Both sides navigate an ecosystem of fear, aggression, and strategy. Survival requires constant awareness, the ability to read subtle cues, and quick, decisive action. The transition from night to dawn brings no relief. As first light filters into corridors, the block remains tense. Inmates with gangster tattoos prepare for another day, reviewing the previous day's events in their minds. Morning routines, head counts, and meal distributions are anticipated with caution. Officers brace for the same challenges they have faced repeatedly: the predictable unpredictability of the no-hope block. Even a minor lapse can result in injury or escalate into violence. Reflection is an essential part of surviving a day in this environment. Inmates consider their actions, alliances, and strategies. Some think about the consequences of aggression. Others focus on reinforcing dominance. Tattoos, scars, and reputation continue to inform behavior. Observing others and learning from interactions is crucial for maintaining status and safety. Those who fail to reflect often become victims of the block's relentless hierarchy. The end of a day is also a reminder of the fragility of control. Officers enforce rules, but the system relies on inmate compliance and self-regulation. Inmates understand the delicate balance, respect authority, maintain alliances, and avoid unnecessary risks. Mistakes are punished, sometimes immediately, sometimes delayed. The environment fosters constant calculation. Every move is strategic. Every decision carries weight. Survival is cumulative. Each day teaches lessons in observation, timing, and anticipation. Gang tattoos, long sentences, and violent histories shape behavior, dictating when to act and when to wait. Officers maintain order, but they cannot control instinct or resolve. The no-hope block is a battlefield of strategy and endurance, where victory is defined by surviving the day without severe injury or escalation. By dawn, the block is still tense. The first head count of a new day approaches, and the cycle begins again. Inmates stretch, pace, or observe quietly from bunks, readying themselves for another series of confrontations, routines, and strategic interactions. Officers prepare to enforce rules, monitor behavior, and respond to violence, all while maintaining awareness of shifting alliances and hidden threats. The block is a world in motion, a microcosm of survival and dominance, where violence, vigilance, and strategy govern every hour. Finally, the lessons of the day are clear. Control is tenuous, chaos is ever-present, and survival demands constant attention. Tattoos, alliances, and reputation continue to shape outcomes. Violence is routine, and tension never fades. Inmates and officers alike emerge mentally and physically tested, having endured a cycle of observation, calculation, and threat. The no-hope block is not just a place of confinement. It is a crucible of endurance, strategy, and relentless pressure, where each day ends only to begin again. The day concludes, but the experience of the no-hope block lingers. Inmates carry memories of conflicts, victories, and close calls. Officers recall interventions, calculated risks, and near misses. Both live under the constant awareness that tomorrow will bring the same challenges, the same tension, and the same fight for survival. Tattoos, hierarchies, and instincts will guide behavior once more, as the block continues its cycle of violence, endurance, and controlled chaos.